Whenever it comes to Fox News and whenever it comes to taxes, you can always count on some cringe takes. So they had on a couple of experts and cried, won't somebody think of the ultra-rich in this country? Let's take a listen.
But as a businessman, is it smart to raise the corporate tax rate in this environment?
Yeah, I would not be supportive of having the corporate tax rate go to 28%. I actually don't have an issue with the minimum global corporate tax rate at 20%. Many of them don't even pay that. And I think actually domestic, we could even see 25% depending where the money went for things like military. And with respect to Steve, as he knows, the budget that past presidents have put in front never get to the table that way. This is going to be done by the Congress. Yeah. Congress is not going to have a wealth tax in many of these things that they're touting for. But we should actually close some of the loopholes so the wealthy pay their fair amount.
But you say wealthy pay their fair share when they're paying a majority of the taxes in this country. Real quickly, though, but what about the majority of Americans who are still, in the last year, paying no federal income taxes? How about addressing that?
Yeah, I think everyone has to pay their fair share. I don't have any issue with everyone paying their fair share. Yeah. So if I can
targeted the wealthy.
There's a difference.
Real quick. This is why.
Hold on. Let Robert finish. Robert, go.
Let me
There's
just say
a
one
big
thing.
difference between
you
a
have
wealth
Steve Forbes
tax
on the show a
and
lot.
taxing the wealthy and cutting loopholes. Okay. There's a big difference between those two.
I got to leave it there. Steve, you have 2 seconds. Go.
The Steve Forbes flat tax is the way to go. Then everybody pays their fair share. There's no loopholes. There's no special carve-outs for people.
Really
I think Robert and I might agree on that.
All right. Good to have you both.
Oh, God. First of all, God, that is why I hate cable news so much. Everybody's talking over each other. Did anybody really learn anything from that? No, absolutely not. But actually, it's a very instructive way. What about all of these people who don't pay
Why are you targeting the rich, Saagar?
As I have said previously, people who are working class and poor actually pay an inordinate amount of their income in tax, just in a different tax. Just because they don't pay income tax doesn't mean they're not paying revenue to the federal government. And if you look at the percentage base of their income that they're kicking up to Uncle Sam on Medicare and payroll tax specifically, they're paying a lot more than some of the richest people in the country. We did an entire segment on the show specifically about how billionaires actually finance a lot of their lives. I would guarantee you, for example, Bezos, I don't think he paid cash for that yacht. The way it works is he takes his hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Amazon stock and he borrows a ton of cash against it. A loan is not a taxable event according to the IRS. So you can finance all of that. And as long as Amazon stock remains above a certain price threshold, he's got no margin call, which means that he can do whatever he wants. And this is how all of the ultra-rich live because they don't have to sell anything. They have a taxable event one time when they buy the asset, or if they create the company, they don't ever have a taxable event. And then they just continue to take loans on that forever and pay an effective tax rate of sometimes 2%, 1%. I mean, at one point, Bezos actually got paid by the government in terms of the earned income tax credit because of the earning EITC, because of his fake income. And that made it so that he was getting money from Uncle Sam. That's how it really works. I mean, Elon, it really is the absolute an outlier here because of the way that his income was structured. He ended up paying more in income tax or in tax than any other American before him. But that was because of the way his compensation structure was created. A lot of these billionaires never even have to sell stock in order to pay tax. Period.
And we're just talking about the most famous ones.
These are the richest of the rich.
Well, and not only that,
outliers.
but if you look at the billionaire class, it's a lot of, financial engineers. And they know how to work the system more than anyone. I mean, remember when we had the Pandora Papers come out? That's and one of the revelations was like, oh, American billionaires, they're not actually really represented in these papers because they don't have to hide their wealth. They have an entire tax system just set up to make sure that they never pay taxes on almost any of their income ultimately. The other thing that's interesting, there's a couple things that are interesting here. Number one, even the dude that they got to be the opposition to be like, well, maybe we should raise the taxes a little bit.
Yes.
Even he's like, oh yeah, make the poor's pay too. He's like, everyone should pay their fair share. Of course I agree with you there. So he's very meekly, he still doesn't even support Biden's proposal, but he's sort of like meekly suggesting maybe the rich should potentially pay more in tax. The other thing that's interesting to note is a significant chunk of their audience does not agree with this perspective that is being offered. Something like 70% 50% of Americans are on board with and enthusiastic about increasing taxes on the wealthy, because it is just so blatantly unfair. And of course, we've covered here multiple times how not only are the poor, overly burdened in terms of their tax liability across sort of all categories of taxes, they're also much more likely to be targeted by the IRS. So even if, wealthy people like actively cheat, go even beyond the rigged system to actually cheat, they are unlikely to be audited and are audited at much lower rates than regular working class, lower income people. The other thing that's interesting to note here is Trump early on. Remember when he was running the first time, he claimed he was going to raise taxes on the rich. And there was a kind of a freak out on the Republican side that, oh my God, he's going to change the orthodoxy here and he's going to actually be the person to go after the rich. Of course, that never happened. Quite the opposite. He gave another massive giveaway to the wealthy and to corporate America. And so now they're just right back to the exact talking points from the Mitt Romney era. I mean, I keep saying this, but this is the era when I was on Fox News regularly, and this sounds like the same old crap that they were saying at the same time that was roundly, repeatedly rejected by the American public. So listen, Republicans are well set to do, quite well in these midterms because they're just mostly not talking about their agenda with the exception of Rick Scott. But the moment that Americans get another look at what their actual economic priorities are, it could be a different story.
Well, here's what's going to happen. American politics is cyclical. They'll come in based on a rejection message. Then they'll introduce their package. People will mostly not pay attention. Then a Republican will probably win the presidential election. Then they're going to cut taxes again, and then they'll become historically unpopular. And then they'll get voted out, and a Democrat will come in, but then they'll be unpopular because they're inept. And then the entire thing will repeat over and over and over.
I mean, they're back to talking about we got to sunset Medicare and
no, they're going to do it.
Social Security.
Listen, believe them. They'll do it. As we found out with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, then they'll become unpopular, then they'll lose an election, and then the whole cycle repeats. But then they'll win again because of the cyclical nature of our politics.
This is the ideology above all else that they are committed to.
I agree with that. I used to think it could be possibly abandoned, but I'm telling you, it is baked in.
It is so baked in because this is where so much of the money and the infrastructure, I mean, this is why when you have Trump, even someone who claimed he was going to break the economic orthodoxy, the thing that is ready-made and is pushed through, the one thing he accomplishes is the Paul Ryan tax cut.
I got to say, too, I get it. A lot of these people are small business owners who are the hardcore constituency of the party. And look, we are now small business owners, and it's annoying as hell in order to try and navigate all the regulation and the red tape and all of that. That does not mean, though, that even as a small business owner, that you would want, in order to advocate for, less benefits to overall people, it actually would probably help us if that were the case and level the playing field vis-a-vis the corporation. So there's a lot of rhetorical buy-in that people who are fed up with the federal government end up buying into, that they don't understand the full scale of the corporate welfare that they're actually subsidizing.
They pitch it as this is for small business,
but it's not
really for the top 0.01%.
And we found that out. I mean, the amount of red tape that we have to go through in order to run this business is unbelievable relative to a massive Fortune 500 corporation, that they have all these lawyers that are constantly saving money on taxes and loopholes and all this other nonsense. We don't have access to any of that. I mean, and so we're the ones who ultimately suffer. And it's just like many other small business owners who can't compete, but you get taken in then by the rhetoric, and then the rhetoric is what ends up subsidizing people at the top. So look, all I would say is let's all unite together and say screw you up to the people who really have the system rigged.
Indeed.
Who really do.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. More for you later.
Hey guys, we're going to be totally upfront with you. This is the most perilous time that we have ever operated in.
It is so difficult just to try to sort through the news, but even more importantly, to bring you accurate information as this wave of lockdown and censorship spreads across the nation.
Yeah, look, if you can become a premium subscriber today at breakingpoints.com, you're going to help us build out a vibrant, independent media ecosystem, which is free of mainstream pressure. We can't tell you how important that is at a time like this.
Yep, that's right. Go to breakingpoints.com to subscribe. We love you guys, and we appreciate you so much.